Hey, Tom. Obviously, yesterday being Seminole headlines, and then you and I were on the golf course over at Capital City having a good time. We weren't talking ball. We weren't talking about our jobs. We were talking about other stuff, really important things, gambling, and vacations, and the like. But what did you think when you heard Patrick Surtain? I thought, oh, hell yes, please.
You know, I was blindsided by it. Might have put the phone down when I got home to see a Slack channel for Warchant say, hey. Bit of a whoopsie. That is somebody who's got the pedigree in all the ways that we're looking for.
Oh, it's perfect.
And has a ton of upside to boot.
It's so what was a gripe of mine for each of the last 2 years? It had less to do with recruiting, although there's real upside with this hire in that regard as well, and a lot more to do with what we weren't capable of from a technique standpoint, knowledge standpoint. I felt like Florida State was behind, and that was why I was less than bashful regarding my opinion of changes on the staff that I wanted to see. Specifically, I wanted Woodson out. It happened. Oh, happy day. Glad he got another job. I don't like to see people lose jobs necessarily. I mean, I don't have anything negative to say about the person in that situation. I have about others, but not that situation. But I was ready for Florida State to upgrade their staff, and Patrick Surtain is an upgrade to this staff big time.
Now, the question is he Surtain or Surtain? Because as a professional, if you recall, the pronunciation of his name switched back and forth several times.
I loved him as a player. I remember his career.
I think it landed on Surtain, but we'll see.
No. We'll ask him specifically when he's kicking ass here.
He'll be here.
Yeah. So, again, good luck to Marcus Woodson taking on down the road to Arkansas, and hello to Patrick, because this is a good hire here. Can you imagine being a defensive back of an elite caliber, wanting the opportunity to go and learn from somebody who's been in the place you want to go. And not only has he been there, he's been there as an elite player, somebody who played the position at the highest level and excelled and can communicate. He's a guy that can really communicate, right? You talk about your path as a coach. It's more than just you played. Lots of people played football. Lots of people know football. Lots of people understand the game thoroughly in a way that if you were sitting next to them, they could point out insights to you that you've maybe never thought of before, as only somebody who played the game can in certain situations, right? But that doesn't mean they can coach. A big part of being able to coach is to communicate that knowledge in a way that is easily absorbed and then replicated, or obviously functional. So you have an opportunity to take that information that you're obtaining from this guy who played at the highest level, understands technique, understands all these things, right, and is teaching you every facet of the position, and then has the ability to communicate that in a way that is easily understood. Your best teachers do that across any walk of life, right? We've all had math teachers that tried to teach us something, or English teachers, or science teachers, whatever teacher you had, and there were good ones and bad ones. The good ones always seem to explain it in a way that was easily understood. And maybe at first you didn't, but they were the kind of teacher that could sit down across from you and understand, oh, he doesn't learn that way. He's a visual learner. He's an auditory learner. They understood that people learn different ways, and they could adjust their approach in that regard and suit it to what you needed. Well, your best coaches do that. They see what they have in a player and what they don't have in a player, how that player learns, how that player understands, what's the best way to get them to pull out all of the ability that they have and to execute on Saturdays. And I feel like when you hire a guy like this, and there's overwhelming evidence that he communicates well, because look at his time as a high school coach, college coach, and a pro coach, right? Think about, you don't get those jobs if you can't communicate those skills. You don't get those jobs. There are plenty of former players wondering why they don't get a job and they want one. Plenty of former players who wish they could get a job, and probably many good ones out there. Who knows? And everybody deserves to get a chance, I suppose. But it's your ability to convey what you know in a way that is digestible. And I have a feeling, just from his career path And certainly listening to him and reading about his insights and what he's done so far in his career, that you got a guy now that you should be very excited about.
Yeah, it's funny. I agree with you. I want to get better, look like we're coached better. Our technique is sharper on the back end. I want to develop players that we bring in here as 4-stars and have them come out looking like 4-stars or 5-stars.
Right.
That'd be great. Development's important. However, what I cared more about with this hire was ties to South Florida.
Well, and you got that too,
our
of course.
staff has to, it's got to
yes.
have more of a regional footprint, a regional history. They're building some of their own history out of nothing.
They've had to, yes.
No tenure here. Like Mike Norvell is creating inroads in a place that he didn't have them before, and that's laudable. But it doesn't always have to be that hard. And so to me, this hire I thought was about checking boxes for high school ties in the Southeast and specifically South Florida. And this checked those boxes in droves. The other thing that makes me confident about this hire is Florida State was seeking a replacement from a position of strength for the first time in more than 5 years, where the resume stack that you got was large, robust, and qualified. According to the whispers of people around the program, we were actually a place people wanted to go and didn't think about the risk of going here. They thought about the opportunity of going here. And that's nice. So if this is the name you land on, you're landing on this name in a much better, healthier position than you would have been doing the same the same dance last year. Not a charade at all now.
You old enough to remember him at Southern Miss?
Southern Miss, no. The NFL in Miami, absolutely.
He's a badass at Southern Miss. I mean, I remember watching him thinking, damn, it wasn't just the speed. He was violent. There was a lot of things to like about him as a player. I'm old and I'm hearkening back to watching him in college, but that's a complete aside. You are correct. This is further evidence that Florida State is in a position of strength in a way they haven't been in a handful of years for sure. And it's very exciting to know that this kind of hire is only possible because you've turned the corner, that the hard work paid off, at least initially now. You've gotten security. That's what you arrived at. You arrived at 10 wins, which gave you then security moving forward, which in turn opens up the doors of possibility for coaches all over the country who see Florida State as an awesome place to work. There are a lot of people who have jobs or are in a position right now where they're secure and they like their job and they're succeeding. But boy, Florida State would be a huge upgrade because of the kind of clay you can work with when they're operating at peak efficiency. Everybody looks better when you're bringing in elite talent and you're working with elite talent. And the possibilities are opening up that Florida State's going to see more of those caliber of players. You want to have the right guys molding that clay. You want a guy that can communicate. You want a guy that can get the most out of those players. So this is a home run across the board in name, the regionality that you talked about, the possibilities in recruiting, and then the teaching. I think that's a huge upgrade. You're going to see them perform better because they're going to be armed. That's the whole part of this, right? Put your players in a position to succeed. You do that by what? Understanding who they are, how they play, and what they know, and utilizing that. You're going to have a guy that's going to give them the technique to best utilize the gifts that they already have athletically. So this is, I mean, damn it, man. I tell you what, it is funny because when you have this kind of excitement around a program, I've been here doing this show for 23 years. And there have been many moments where you felt like they're on the cusp of something great, and then you have to see it through. Sometimes it didn't work out. Sometimes it did. Sometimes they got real close. Sometimes they pushed through the finish line and won a national championship. And I know that it is very rare that in succession, for weeks on end, all of the news is overwhelmingly positive. And when it happens, you catch yourself because you can hear it. I always tell people, and I think this is true of any job, everybody over time, if they do something long enough, they're steeped in it long enough, and they work at their craft, whatever it might be a scientist, whatever you are, you develop a tacit understanding of how to do a lot of things on a daily basis, and you never even think about it. You just come in and do it. It's been part of the regimen of doing your job, whatever that job is, for years, right? One of those things is, and you know this, you've been doing this long enough, and I don't know when it happened for you, but I know that it has. When we have conversations that are duds, when we have conversations that don't work on the air, when we have moments, I know, guys, doesn't happen often. But when it does, we both can feel it. The other doesn't have to tell each other, right? You and I will just look at each other at the end of a segment and be like, that sucked. It's not to our standard. That wasn't good. I was terrible. Whatever it might be, right? Other times when you're talking and you know it's good and you know that this is compelling because you're in it. You feel it. You know, you're relaying that information. You're excited to do so in such a way. And you can feel that it resonates. But you also are self-governing, and that if you catch yourself getting carried away, whether that be a negative or a positive, the little voice in your head says, slow your roll, man. That's over the top. You were overly critical of this player, that coach, this situation, the university, the fans, whatever it might be. Other times, when you hear yourself singing the praises of a coach, a player, a program, if you do it days on end, that voice goes, come on, man. You're talking about this program like they just won back-to-back national championships. You know, they're not that yet. You know that. Don't do that. Other times you have to combat that voice and go, no, man, if the news is positive on Monday, then it's positive on Monday. If the news is positive on Tuesday, then it's positive on Tuesday. If it happens to be that the news is positive Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then that's the week you just had, and that's the way to talk about it. And that's what's happening with Florida State right now.
Yeah, if you had 30 pieces, the most recent 30 pieces of football news, and you analyze good, bad, and indifferent, 27 pieces out of the 30 are good or positive. They're on one hell of a run. They're on a hell of a run.
It's also very rare, and you recognize it.
Well, and it's worth celebrating, and it's worth getting pumped up about, because the growth that you're going to see from where we are now to where we want to go is a lot smaller. The margin's smaller.
Yeah.
The ground that we've covered in the last year, hell, in the last 6 months, is massive. But what it's doing now is it's setting up an expectation where the baseline for this year is to make it to the ACC championship. That's like your baseline.
It's almost like I'm dismissive of such a low bar.
Especially without the divisions. Yes, well, without the divisions, that's a reasonable thing.
What are we talking about here?
Well, and the exciting thing is in 19 short days, the ACC schedule release will be out for football. We can do our first round of W's and L's.
Ooh.
And we can see the sequencing of those games, those 8 conference games.
Which
matters.
Matters.
That matters greatly. It influences, 10 or 11 in the regular season. But that's the expectation now. So it's going to be easier to be pissed off by Florida State in the near future because your expectations are higher. So the margin for error is slimmer. But we're not there yet. We are still in the glow of the 2022 season. So enjoy it. And this offseason has been off to a rousing start. What I know for a fact, and I won't pump the brakes on, is because of the access that we get through Coach Norvell, I can't wait for spring ball again.
Well,
and it's going to matter greatly.
More than it has in a long time.
And we've fallen into that trap before where we, say this is spring really matters. Well, with his media policies, they do more than any other.
You can actually provide context for your listeners and readers.
And they matter more than the game itself. The spring game doesn't matter nearly as much as the camp that leads up to the spring game. And we saw that last year. That game was an abomination. Hopefully they fix some of the procedures.
Don't run 2-point plays to start the spring game.
And not tell anybody.
And then throw picks on consecutive plays and be like,
And then allow for the
welcome
broadcast
to the spring game,
to
everybody.
Just be one sideline interview after the other with
the
whole
game
thing
sucked.
It was
spring
awful.
Game sucks anyhow.
But football access that we get with all of these new pieces.
Yeah.
You got one new coach in the fold, but with all these new pieces, there is so much crap to sort out, and it's good crap. I can't wait for it. And that comes in about 2 months. Can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
It is. I've never been, other than the facets or the aspects, I should say, of the spring game that we all embrace, which is a return to town from some of our favorite people. Your best friends, your family, people who come back to town to go to the spring game, just to be a part of the merriment, right? That I've always loved that. That's always nice. It's a wonderful way to break up the off season and kind of embrace expectations or commiserate if your program's in the dumper. But any of those kinds of things I've always embraced.
In the dumper we have been.
Yes, but no longer. No. And I typically get so excited for that, it bleeds over into sort of this delirious, hey, maybe the spring game will be good this year. I don't know why. I lie to myself. It's lying season. And that's you start lying to yourself and you're like, oh, spring game will be entertaining. No, it won't. Never is. Never is. Best spring game of all time still sucked. So it's one of those things.
There's a way, though. And they have the drill. The day that we were allowed in the stadium before the spring game, they had goal line drills.
Do you remember, by the way, that day it was hot as Hades?
It was indeed.
You and I walked all the way up to the top of the stadium because it was so damn hot.
The problem with it, and this is no disrespect to the name of our website or the actual tune, but they just played the Warchant on loop for 40 minutes. I mean, 40 minutes, it's a little much. It's a little much.
Yeah, bit much.
But it was goal line drills, first to 10 on stops versus scores.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And it got to 9-9. I think, or if it was first to 7 or 6-6, whatever it was, it got down to the final one, and it was awesome.
Yeah, but here's the problem with this. And now we're on a separate subject because I don't want to solve the spring game. I don't care.
Well, we can on Thursday with ISF Solving the Future.
I don't want to solve the spring game. My point is that the day-to-day practices in the spring are going to produce very exciting nuggets on a daily basis that we walk in here and talk to this audience. That is true. That is going to happen because there's real competition.
Cameron's Tasty Nugs. There's our segment.
That is it. All right, sponsors, line up because, goodness, that sells itself. But here's the deal.
Everybody's slinging chicken these days. Somebody's got to want it.
My buddy Rob, who, Rob.
Yep.
He's now
down
slinging.
The road
yeah. Happy for him. I just saw him the other day. But
Cameron's Tasty Nugs.
No, so
brought to you by.
Yeah, well, there it is. But I know that we go about the process of perhaps not rationalizing, but attempting to create a buzz around spring that a lot of times is non-existent. This time we'll have to quell it. We're going to have to be like, okay, everybody calm down. It is just spring practice. We're going to be that excited to watch the competition play out. As far as the other aspect, and we got to take a break. We got 2 hours, Tom. We can talk about a million things. Slow your roll. So what I'm saying is that what we can do here
with the Tasty Nugs segment, we could advance the discussion.
Yes. But what I'm saying, well, that drill that you want them to utilize as a substitute for the spring game is way too violent and way too exhausting to use as a spring game. And that the spring game's a reward.
I'm not saying that they need to do first to 30. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that if that's the way that the spring game started, instead of 2-point plays, like save that drill for the day of the spring game. Because technically it's a practice. As it goes down in the schedule, it is practice 14 or whatever. If that's the way it led off, people would be engaged from the get-go instead of confused and wondering why every quarterback is taking a turn throwing an interception to start the proceedings today.
No, Dad, you know that I don't have to pick a kicker to get behind. You already know who that is. The greatness that rolled in here from Etsu is going to win that job, baby. That is a foregone conclusion. Buccaneer. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Barry knows cool. He's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool. You can put him to the test.
This is Tyler from Bear No Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere.
Save big time in the new year and get $1,200 off select new units.
Online at BaranoAC.com.
Keeping you comfortable is what Barry does best.
Florida license CAC 1816-186.
Over 50 years ago, when Paul Nicholson founded Paul's Termite and Pest Control, he had one goal in mind: provide the best service possible to his neighbors so they felt like family. Your problem was his problem, so today it's our problem. Paul's service area is our home. It's where our kids go to school, where we shop, and where we get involved with community organizations. So if some out-of-town company knocks on your door and begins pressuring you to sign an agreement for termite or pest control, you can bet on a few things. Number one, you'll never see that person again. Number two, Your technician is likely to change often. And number 3, your money will not stay in North Florida. These companies are sending your money to home offices in Atlanta, Orlando, Salt Lake City, or even Great Britain. Paul's Termite and Pest Control knows local means something to you. The health of your Tallahassee home, family, and pets is our number one priority. For the elimination of termites and pests and a greener lawn too, call your local company with local solutions. Paul's Termite and Pest Control.
When you're an innovative business, every blinking cursor, every blank page is an opportunity. What will you do with it? Will you make something better or create something new? Our Dell Technologies advisors provide you with tools and expertise to do incredible things. Because we believe there's an innovator in all of us. For advice on smart PCs powered by Intel V Pro that's built for business, call a Dell Technologies advisor at 877-ASK-DELL.
At Mucinex, we don't believe in cold and flu season. We only believe in comeback season, which starts with 12-hour relief. Just one dose of Mucinex DM provides 12 hours of relief for cough and chest congestion day or night. That's 3 times longer than those 4-hour cough liquids. So say goodbye to cold and flu season and hello to comeback season with Mucinex DM. Nothing lasts longer among over-the-counter cold and cough medicine. Get relief that lasts with Mucinex DM. Use as directed.
God gave us 2 ends, one to think with and one to sit on. Success in life depends on which one you use. Heads, you win. Tails, you lose. Hi, I'm Rick Hughes, host of The Flatline. Heard every Sunday morning here at 7:30 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3 Tallahassee Real Talk Station. Come join me 30 minutes of motivation, inspiration, and some education as I seek to reveal God's plan by teaching 10 unique problem-solving devices. Every Sunday morning, 7:30 a.m., 93.3 Real Talk Tallahassee.
Siri, tell me a joke.
The past, present, and future walk into a bar. It was tense.
All jokes aside, the trained professionals at Mac & More Systems are serious about Apple products. For all your Mac repairs, call Mac & More Systems at 894-3622. 894-3622.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Day, there might not be a team heading into the season hotter than the Seminoles. Florida State won 10 games for the first time since 2016 and clearly looked to be on the rise under Mike Norvell. Quarterback Jordan Travis capped a terrific season with a remarkable performance in the Cheez-It Bowl against Oklahoma, throwing for 418 yards, running for another 50, and scoring 2 touchdowns. Travis is set to return for 2023 along with several key contributors, including running back Trey Benson and defensive tackle Fabian Lovett. The expectations are sure to soar for this group. That's putting it mildly. But the reason I bring that up is that it is somebody who is outside of this market. Just so people understand, it isn't just the homers here that are excited about the potential for Florida State to move into another realm of the college football upper crust, which is to say that, that they very well could be a preseason top 10 team. And those rankings don't necessarily portend of greatness, but they are an indicator of, the perception of a program. And the perception of this program has been one that isn't ranked preseason in recent years. And that always stung a little bit. While we certainly can make the argument that preseason rankings are somewhat arbitrary, I got you. They are based in reputation, in large part in reputation, and Florida State's reputation hasn't been good. It is going to be good now because of what they've just accomplished this past year.
Yeah, the hiring of Surtain Sr. signals that,
Well,
which
yeah,
is
yeah.
you were disqualified from competing for high 4 stars and low 5 stars of most varieties the past 5 years. I mean, just you weren't going to get them. Why waste your time? And you were disqualified from getting very competent, well thought of assistant coaches because your situation was not stable enough, perceived in the coaching industry rightly as not stable enough. You're no longer disqualified from either of those conversations, nor are you discounted when it comes to the NIL game. You're at least putting out there that while our resources aren't as deep as A&M or other programs, maybe John Ruiz even, that you can compete at the highest level with big name programs on at least a couple few players, if not more. These are all important signals to send to the various markets out there, the coaching market, the player market, the transfer market, that this is a place to be. And it's a big time to do that as the transition in college football only seems to be increasing with conference realignment and then also the playoff shuffle coming after this next full season.
It's gotten interesting because the immediacy of Florida State's ability to compete at a much higher level amongst the better teams in big-time college football takes precedent over any discussion you might have of the long-term viability of this program so long as they stay in the ACC. So we spent a lot of time mining those depths, right? Talking about, all right, well, what do we have to do to get out of this conference? Because long-term, you become less and less viable as you make half of what your rivals in the region in which you recruit double their payments because of the TV deal, the SEC, and everything that we've watched play out now, even with the Big Ten and all of that. You know, we spent a lot of time on that because we couldn't spend a lot of time talking about how good Florida State was. There was no other option. This was a more engaging discussion. But it doesn't go away just because right now you have a good football program and you have a good football team. It is still something that you are, I'm sure, behind the scenes efforting to get done. You're hoping that there is a path, whether that's a unified front with Clemson and Florida State, amongst others, choosing to leave the conference or attempting to, or figuring out what kind of deal it would take for that to happen. I mean, I've said before, if you just could come, I mean, I don't care if it sounds outlandish. If you just had a number to shoot for, if the ACC said, you don't want to be here long-term, we're not going to be the football conference that the SEC or the Big Ten is. We know that. It's not who we are. But we are going to want a parting gift, a sizable parting gift. And here it is, $1 billion. Instead of, $700 million, $800 million, just make it $1 billion. If you can come up with $1 billion, you're allowed to leave. All right, cool. I can figure that out. We can figure that out. There are a lot of paths to $1 billion, including one that would involve ESPN. So,
would you accept a payment plan?
Oh, I'm going to write a check. But the point would be, without that monetary dollar, that figure, that the number to reach, you can't even put a plan together. You can't, and they're not going to let you just walk. And I do think somewhere along the way over there, that is happening. Those discussions are omnipresent, I would think. But the brass at Florida State and amongst others in this conference that understand the longer they're here, the less of an opportunity they have to compete to win championships moving forward. Again, it's a back burner for the moment because we're excited about what they can do next season. But every year you're getting doubled down on ensures that you're not going to be competitive for players and coaches.
Well, athletic director Alford never misses an opportunity to put out there on social media, retweeting or whatever, when Florida State has grand success in the ratings game.
Which is always, I mean, the brand that is Florida State.
To hammer that idea home as you're winning creates, even though it might be fictitious power when it comes to the idea of, breaking a contract, still, man,
put you in a position of strength,
you want people to want you. And if you're steady going 4-8,
Correct.
Nobody wants you, or they don't feel the urgency to have you. Do what we did last year. Parlay that into another double-digit win season with maybe some bigger prizes down the line, like a conference title and a berth in the college football playoff. And then suddenly people start wanting us even more. And they see, perhaps in the Big Ten, the academic profile on the rise at Florida State, the path that we're on there. And maybe you can create a market for yourself that's competitive. Well, where somebody's willing to float the payment because they don't want the other guy to get you. That's where you want to go.
You certainly give yourself the best chance to do that by winning football games. It's as simple as that. It always has been, right? It's always about winning football games. If you do that, you recruit better, have an opportunity to bring in better coaches, sustain success, make more money, become more viable for others. There are all these paths, but all of them begin with winning football games. And that feeling of desperation that we had after a 5-7 season had more to do with than just the 7 losses. It was, man, we are not doing anything to help ourselves get out of this nightmare of a scenario that a few short years ago we really didn't think possible. And, you know, it just seemed to add on to that despair. It was not in lieu of, but it added on, and it was so frustrating. And now that's another thing that is flipped. You're putting your best foot forward. And the longer you can do that and sustain that, it's important to, and I will continue to point this out. They had a good season. Not a great season. They had a good season. And by the standards of the last few years, it was a very good season. It's important to back it up. It's important to have another very good season. It's important to sustain that over a longer period of time. I don't know what the team's going to look like 2 years from now. I'm not all that worried about it. I am, we're all watching closely the recruiting, transfer portal, all those things about the players that will be here, but you have to position yourself to be, a strong program over the next 4 or 5 years, presumably, if you're ever going to get out of here.
Yeah, I'm worried about 24, but not at the expense of 23.
Right.
It's if you have the kind of 2023 that we're all hoping for, which is that you're in the playoff conversation legitimately into November and maybe you actually make the playoff, then a slight step backward in 24 isn't the end of the world. But you can't lay an egg this year and then watch all these kids walk because their eligibility is exhausted and their pro prospects are coming to roost. You can't lay an egg this year. This is critical. This is critical because I think 24 is going to have a more of a moving part feel to it than this year would. You're going all in on 23. If this was a professional franchise, we would say that they're mortgaging the future in order to make it happen. Here's their window. They're going all in now. But if you can bring that home, then recruiting for us too in the high school ranks is only going to get better and better.
Yeah. Z-Chan, sorry I missed your comment earlier. I'm going to get to it right now. I see what you did there. I'm Surtain. That was a nuclear bomb of a higher. How much higher can this hype machine go? Woo! Yeah. Tom writes, was TCU's performance in the title game the on-field equivalent of the unintelligible Lou Holtz sound clip that Jeff loves? Oh, that's funny, Tom. We had this debate yesterday, and you'll find that clip by now. We had this debate yesterday about would it have been better? Corey posited that it would have been better for TCU to have narrowly lost in the last second to Michigan and have played that great game than to have gone to the national championship game only to be boat raced in record fashion. And I disagreed. And the reason I disagreed was that all players would rather win a game than lose a game, period, no matter what comes next.
It would have been better for TCU's image, though.
I don't think so. We had how many days? We had a week worth of people talking about TCU in glowing terms. I don't really think that's going to be undone by that performance. Now, we'll all say, as we have about Notre Dame and Michigan State and Washington, any number of the other programs that have gone to the playoffs and been boat raced and looked like they didn't deserve to be there, that, yeah, you know what? There's this level and then there's that level, which unfortunately usually resides in the SEC. And TCU became next in the long line of victims to that conference in which the physical differences were very apparent on game day. But you can't take away the season they had and the fact that they knocked off Michigan as a distinct underdog and the fact that they went from being unranked in the preseason on the heels of a losing campaign the year before to playing for a national championship. That is amazing. If we played for a national championship next year, I'd like to think we would not get beat 65-7. But if we did, you mean to tell me that we would come in here the day after that, after acknowledging that it was humiliating to get beat 65-7, and call the season a failure? No, you would not.
Norvell's taking us as far as he can. We're done.
I mean, you get to the national championship game. Sweet Jesus, man, that's a good year.
Well, I know that. They bring the income.
Your local news now.
Leon County Schools is working with the Florida Department of Transportation on school zone speed limits that will impact drivers across the district. The change comes as LCS looks to comply with state law. 20 school zones are impacted by the change from 20 miles per hour to 15 miles per hour. A person cited for exceeding the speed limit by up to 5 miles per hour in a legally posted school zone will be fined $50. The full list of zones from LCS can be found on their Facebook page. Capital City Youth Services is looking to hire more people to serve families facing a crisis in the community. They are looking to hire over a dozen new employees to help families facing crisis and meet their basic needs. CCYS plans to overstaff their team to combat shortages they're facing and expand their reach. CCYS is free and open to anyone that needs help across the entire Big Bend. For more information and open positions, go to ccys.org. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Patrick McMillan with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Midday, sunny skies with a high near 73 degrees. Tonight, patchy fog late, partly cloudy and a low around 58 degrees. Tomorrow, patchy fog in the morning, then a chance of showers and thunderstorms. Mostly sunny skies and a high near 76. Tomorrow night, showers and thunderstorms continues, mostly cloudy skies and a low of 49. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 48.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Hey, what's happening, Jeff?
It is always good to see you, Eddie. Had a long day, my man. I was thinking about it. Gordo's was the place to ease the pain, you know? You're frustrated with your job. You're aggravated. Life's beating you down. Maybe your wife's speaking. You got to get out the door.
You know what? Here at Gordo's, man, we welcome everybody. Disgruntled wives, disgruntled husbands, kids running away from home. We'll even give that kid a job. Send them our way.
Go make some money and eat delicious food at Gordo's. It's perfect.
And have a damn good time doing it.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Hey, Matt.
Yes, Greg.
You know all the different ways that you can listen to Real Talk 93.3?
There are several.
So we've got realtalk93.com. You can go back and listen to all of our shows in the podcast section.
That's right. You can also listen on our app as well.
Search Real Talk 93.3 and look for the red microphone and download our app. Never go anywhere without us.
And of course, you can always listen right on the radio.
Well, they are listening.
Are they?
If they're hearing this commercial, then they're listening.
That's true. I hadn't thought about that.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
The fact that somehow there's in the chat folks talking about smoking crack if Florida State makes it to the national title game. What makes me laugh. So Marcus writes, Tom and I will smoke crack live on air if we play for a national title next year. He promised me that he would pay any fines as well. Love you guys. Thank you, Marcus. I thought that he was talking about Buffalo Tom.
I'd agree.
That he and
I made
Buffalo
no
Tom
agreement. That
would
sounds like
smoke
something
crack
That sounds like an agreement Buffalo Tom would make with him.
On the air. But I also thought it was funny that Noel Dad said that he was pretty sure Tom Lang was not going to smoke crack on air. He didn't exclude the possibility that you would smoke crack, just not on air.
Thank you, Noel Dad.
Oh, that was good.
Way to call it to light.
Putting Tom's business on Front Street here on the Jeff Cameron Show today. Cigars. How about we go with a fine cigar? I don't think Tom would smoke that, but I would. What are the rules about that, by the way? I know we're not allowed to drink on the air per FCC rules, but I could smoke.
Is that still a rule?
I
mean, come on.
I don't know. But I would assume that it is.
Crack open a beer. Let's find out.
I'm sure. I would like to think that we could have celebrated at the end of the show after a big victory. We could all salute together and have a. But I mean, I do think you could probably smoke a cigar. I don't see why you couldn't do that.
Who's coming to get you? ATF? Have a little sip. Have a cigar. Shoot a gun in the air. There you go. 1, 2, 3.
They're coming for you.
That's right. There's a big win.
Really, really pleased that Jared Verse was on the ACC network, said what he had to say. This is, of all the players, and we've talked about this, that, Florida State has been able to get a yes from. And there are a lot of guys I'm excited about. I don't want to exclude them. But Jared Verse, for me, I think like most, is the one that I was most hopeful for, because just getting a glimpse of that talent this year, while hurt, was enough to let you realize that he is rapidly growing into an elite defensive end in college football. Think about how quickly this has happened. This rise from Albany to Florida State, where, okay, you go from that school to a Power 5 program that wins 10 games, and you have good games against a lot of talented tackles, but there is room for improvement. The thing is, that room for improvement will be, I think, seen because of the work ethic he has. He's obsessed. He's a hardworking kid. I've said this before, and I'll continue to point it out. Like, a lot of guys you presume will get better year over year, but unless you have insight to the way they work in the offseason, you can't know for certain. We're just assuming growth because we assume that most people who are talented enough to get a college scholarship to a Power 5 program must have put in the work and therefore will continue to do so. That's not always true. Some folks are preternaturally gifted athletes, just really, really good at what they do, and they're able to dominate in high school at a level that earns that scholarship, but they don't have great work ethic. They're bigger, stronger, faster. They have the genetics. Now, that's not all guys, and that's not even a lot of guys. Most of the kids that play big-time college football are very hard workers as it pertains to preparing themselves to play football. Most are. I'm not trying to paint an ugly picture of star athletes by any stretch. Oftentimes, I think that they are, labeled in a way that makes certain assumptions that have less to do with hard work and more to do with gifts, and that is unfair. Yes, it helps genetically to be, if you're a basketball player, 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", as opposed to 5'7", 5'8". I got it. It does. There are aspects of it that matter. But there are a lot of 6'6" people who can't play a lick of basketball. They had to work really damn hard. And, most athletes do. But in the case of Jared Verse, this is a guy who is hyper-focused, very intense, and has been from day one. I mean, that time I talked to him before the start of the season, you could hear it in his voice.
Yeah, there's a place to go with him, too, of drastic improvement if you're just talking about production. And some of that is with health and the snap count that he was or was not on for a stretch of games.
Mm-hmm.
But he had 9 sacks, 17 tackles for loss, and 48 total tackles this year. Nothing to sneeze at, especially when you're not at 100%. And also, when you factor in how many blowouts Florida State took part in. So, I mean, how many chances do you really have? You're not going to be out there in the second half of 6 different football games.
Yeah.
So you have 9 sacks, 17 tackles for loss, 48 tackles. The year prior, Jermaine Johnson, just for comparison's sake, 12 sacks, 18 tackles for loss, just one more, but then 70 total tackles. Now, some of that is because Jermaine Johnson was on the field for all 12 games for the balance of the games, because we weren't ever going to blow anybody out, say for UMass. So maybe he got a half a game off. But the other part of it is Jermaine Johnson had more of an impact on the game.
Yes,
than Jared Verse did.
Yes, he did. There are all kinds of areas for Jared to improve.
Yes, a lot of ways. The thing that I love about Jared's baseline game that he has right now is the strength to compete with the big guys. He didn't show it as well against Florida and Oklahoma, but we know that strength is a part of his game. It's not just a one-trick pony finesse type move that he's got. He can also get his hands on you and stun you with a punch and throw you back. So there is variety to what he's got, but he's still raw. And comparing him to Jermaine Johnson's year, the season prior, there's work to be done. He can get better.
Well, you and I had that discussion. It's always a delicate discussion to have because it sounds like you're degrading a guy who's been super productive in year one, at FSU. And of course, we know that's not true. We're not. We're only noting that if he is to reach his true potential, given all of that talent, he'll have to develop more moves off the line of scrimmage. He'll have to be better against the run and setting the edge. He'll have to do lots of things that allow you to move into the first round and become a top-tier pick at that position. But the good news is that even though there is room for growth, he's the kind of guy that will fill it. You know, the kind of guy that's going to put in the time. He cares. He cares about his craft.
Well, and again, the best case I can make for Jared Verse is that he produced on the level of sacks and tackles for loss nearly at a rate that Jermaine Johnson did. I haven't seen the total snap count for the year, but I'll bet you it's close. And I'll bet the tackles for loss production is higher per snap than Jermaine Johnson's was. But then just put yourself in the old school eye test mode of watching these games and watching the flow of them. Did Jared Verse dominate a game post LSU in a way that Jermaine Johnson did several times? I don't think so. Like the way that Jermaine Johnson impacted the Miami result here in Tallahassee. That was a comprehensive ass kicking delivered by one man on defense. And it was wild.
It also delivered a moment that we'll never forget, which is him telling the coaches, no, I'm not coming off the field, waving the substitute off the field.
Making a play to force a 4th and 2 with a punt that sets up 4th and 14. Doesn't happen without Jermaine's hustle.
Yeah, it's rather remarkable.
Jared has yet to do that quite yet, beyond going against a true freshman tackle in the LSU game. We haven't had a chance to see Jared take over a game. There was lament after Wake Forest where he said, man, shouldn't have been on a pitch count. He might have had one of those days against Wake earlier on. But Jermaine was, on the whole, one of your favorite phrases.
I'm trying to push it out of the lexicon, Tom. Thanks.
It's coming over this side of the glass.
There it is.
A much more complete football player 2 years ago than Jared was this past season. So there's a chance, though, for Jared to go out as an even bigger legend, but there's work to be done.
Well, and you know what's cool about that? I think the same holds true for a couple of guys in that receiving core. I think the same holds true for Trey Benson. I mean, Trey Benson's upside and Trey Benson at his best is something to behold, but he is too inconsistent. Trey Benson has games where he's kind of non-existent, and he has games where he's dominating. That has to be a more game-to-game, that kind of production has to be a game-to-game occurrence where you just assume, we got an elite back. There are days where he forces you to reckon with who he is, but then there are games where you're like, well, you know what? Trey didn't do much today.
Well, even though his 0 to 60 is among the best on the roster, zero, like his total top end speed, all of it, like they've got the metrics just like we had back in the day with the, remember the rocket scientist articles on Florida State when Jimbo put the catapult system in?
Mm-hmm.
Trey's numbers are among the highest on the team, but he's still more of a patient runner than a quick hitter of a runner. He likes to set things up. And the coaching staff got pissed off at this, not just to Trey, but the entire running back room several times this season where the first practice we were allowed at, you'd hear them yell at the top of their lungs, hit it!
Yeah.
Now!
Hit the hole. Yeah.
Hit it! So that's going to be for this offseason for Trey.
The good news is that he did it enough times to convince himself. See, that's the whole key with him. And you see this with kids coming off of leg injuries, and I don't blame him. Here you go. Here's a little name drop. Once again, it's my favorite name drop. when William Floyd tore his ACL, I believe it was a Monday Night Football game, I remember talking to him about his rehab. Now, this is many moons ago, of course, and they've come a long way. Guys recover from ACLs and MCLs and so much faster, and they don't – used to be a death sentence in some cases for your career. Later on, it wasn't a death sentence, but everybody knew it would be 2 to 3 years before you were back to yourself. And William said that even after he was given the go-ahead to full contact, no problems, whatever, get after it, he just never trusted to plant on that leg and to really lean into it. Like, you know, that his brain would not let him put his foot in the ground and go because he kept thinking it's going to snap. That's that pain that's associated with it, right? And it took him like a year and a half before he decided he could trust it. Well, you need the evidence that you can trust it. You got to do it one time and have it work. You got to do it a second time and have it work. You got to play a game where you play to contact and you run over people and you see you're strong again and you're capable again. And Trey Benson had to do that. And he did it enough times that he ought to enter camp now knowing I'm a bad son of a bitch. Nobody's going to tackle me. That ought to be the mentality for that guy now because he did it enough times. And I would think that, you know, it takes time to build to that, but we saw enough of that. And more importantly, he saw enough of that. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
Business a facelift with a modern, consistent, creative brand overhaul from Curiosity Marketing Group. These days, it's not enough for your business just to have a standard website or a Google listing to reach your customers. Your business needs to stand out with eye-popping branding, modern web development, and strong marketing. And it takes a team to pull it all together. Words and websites matter. At Curiosity, we make the most of yours. Find out more at curiositymg.com.
I used to fight almost on a daily basis working on my business website. I'm a pretty smart guy, but I could never get it to function the way I needed it to, and I was losing customers because of it. That's when I called Curiosity Marketing. They listened, they understood, we collaborated, and in the end, they delivered beyond my highest expectations. Now, I can barely keep up with the work. They say the future belongs to the curious, and now I'm excited about the future of my business.
Find out more at curiositymg.com.
There's nothing like relaxing in a hot tub after a long day. But if you don't have one, you're truly missing out. Hot tubs and spas have tremendous health benefits, besides just helping you relax. Like improving your sleep, they help with pain relief. They help to better your cardiovascular health, and so much more. And this season is the perfect season to finally buy what you've been wishing for. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patio, and Spas has the hot tubs you need for the price you want. Come shop our huge 12,000 square foot showroom and save today. There's over 50 hot tubs in stock right now, so you won't have to wait weeks on end for that delivery to finally come to town. If you're ready to relax, we're here to show you how. Pinch a Penny Pool, Patios, and Spas. Come visit our huge showroom at 2473 Greer Road with over 50 hot tubs to choose from. You'll be glad you did.
We understand how important it is to have transportation you can rely on. So no matter what the road ahead brings, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for over 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise.
I'm Andy Cohen with Florida Farm Bureau Insurance. Please call me at 850-671-FARM.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Gretna, Tallahassee. The latest betting odds and line movements from Vegas. This is your action update. Now here are your latest lines from our guys in the desert.
Florida State won its third ACC game of the year, 75-64 at home over Georgia Tech. The Seminoles visiting Wake Forest today. It's a 7.5-point road underdog. 149.5 the total at the Joel Coliseum. UCF laying 2 at home against Memphis. South Florida 22-point underdog at Houston. Last night, Florida Gators over LSU on the road, 67-56. Gators earned the victory as a 2.5-point road favorite. AFC wildcard game Saturday night at TIAA Bank Field. The Jaguars, the AFC South champions, a 1-point dog of the LA Chargers. Sign up now for your free VSiN subscription at vsin.com/subscribe. For more sports betting news and information, go to vsin.com. Mike Son at Real Talk 93.3.
Mr. Clean, Mr. Clean.
Of course I use Mr. Clean Magic Eraser to clean tough messes off my stovetop and bathtub. But then I discovered I can also use it to easily clean my patio furniture and even my shoes. I'm hooked.
And when wipes won't cut it, I use Magic Eraser Sheets. They're thin and flexible erasers, perfect for everyday messes, like gunk on my counters and sinks. They really are magical.
The reviews are in. Mr. Clean Magic Eraser and Sheets make cleaning look easy.
From Brent Musburger, and this is Take One, and away we go.
The best way to start betting smarter is to sign up for a free VSiN subscription at vsin.com/subscribe. Plus, when you sign up today, you'll automatically be entered to win a free VSiN Pro annual subscription, a $240 value. Sign up for your free VSiN subscription today at vsin.com/subscribe.
And that's a wrap.
Your body is a masterpiece designed to heal itself from within. Learn how to maximize your health by tuning in to Phenomenal Health with me, Dr. Ryan Finn. Saturdays at 2:30. Experience true health today and call Finn Chiropractic at 386-7700.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Now go call Seminole Glass. They'll get on the road and get it done fast.
Your local family-owned glass company, serving the Big Bend for over 15 years. At Seminole Auto Glass, we care about your safety. Insurance will send you wherever it benefits them, not the quality of service. There's a difference in auto glass companies. Trust your local auto glass experts. Seminole Auto Glass.
They handle any kind of broken glass, and you know who they are.
Better call Seminole.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
If Real Talk was a paycheck, you'd be getting a huge raise. More Real Talk right now on 93.3. Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That is Tom. Director Matthew in the house tonight. Baba Miller makes his long-awaited debut. Hello, Baba. I got to see Baba in the preseason, if you will, the exhibition game. And I was very, very impressed. Wonder how quickly he'll be able to get his sea legs underneath him. Has not played in the game. It's a little bit different than strength and conditioning in practice. And obviously he's a kid who will, we hope, round into form quickly. He is a talent. And resuming ACC play tonight against Wake Forest, we get to see him. One down note, Tom, this game tips at Joel Coliseum in Winston-Salem at 9 p.m.
Yeah, I'll be taking a nap at 6. That's what I'm going to do. Get my nap
Can
on.
you really do that? If I take a nap at 6, I may be done. Because I get up, as you know, pretty early. And so what happens is I just plow right through and end up waking up at like 4 in the morning. And I go, well, I might as well just get the hell up. I mean,
it's possible. I had to on Monday just because of the travel lag effect ahead of the national title game, which I didn't. I could have just gone to bed.
Should have just gone to bed.
Yeah. I ended up switching over to Rick and Morty instead of watching the second half of the title game.
As one does.
Yeah, it was delightful.
Yeah.
But as a rule, it doesn't work. You're correct. Because if you start sleeping when it's dark out, it's hard to wake up.
Your body's like, why? Why are we getting back up?
Now, one credit to the show very quickly. There was a comment that came in from Get Down or Lay Down before the top of the hour.
Yes.
In which he said, Jeff promised to juggle flaming bowling pins for hour number 2. And I asked Matthew, I said, did he? When?
No.
But I think that's a credit to the show.
Yeah.
That it's possible that you may have said
something silly like that. Yeah. So I also like that Preston immediately wanted to know if it was worth going Noles +7 with the return of Baba. And I would say that the way Florida State's been playing lately, you might be getting good odds on the Noles for the next few games, in fact. So study the lines carefully. They swept us a year ago, Wake did, 76-54 when we were on the road there. That was the largest margin of defeat in ACC regular season play during the 2021-2022 season. You recall that 76-54 ass kicking?
There was a try-hard player for Wake Forest who was trying very hard. I do recall that game.
Well, that is kind of the goal. You do have to try hard.
Oh, but a basketball try-hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah. FSU leads the all-time series, however. Suck it, Wake, 29-27. We won 13 of 16 meetings between 2010 and 2021.
That's right. Closed that gap and went the other way. Flew past them.
Get you some. Except for a couple games played in 1958 and 1973, the other 54 games between the two teams have come since FSU joined the ACC in the fall of 1991. The Noles are 17-7 against the Deacs at the TLC-CC. We are, however, on the road tonight where we are 10-16 against Wake Forest at the Lawrence Joel Memorial Coliseum. You remember when that opened in 1989? What a great year 1989 was. Leonard Hamilton is 18-13 against Wake Forest in his time at FSU. That's good. 10-3 at the TLC-CC, but can pull to 500 with a win on the road against Wake there tonight. 8-8.
So outside of the Joel Coliseum being open in 89, what's another thing that stands out to you? Is that the year you graduated high school?
That is the year I graduated high school, yes.
All right.
It's a great year.
Do you associate anything with graduation? Is there a song that you tied to high school graduation or a movie from that summer?
I don't think so. There's there's a lot of songs that we can all be nostalgic about eras. There are plenty of songs that I can think of my senior year.
I'll tell you how young I am. Beverly Hills by Weezer came out my senior year.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, 1989. No, I'll just leave it be. 1989 was a good year.
Yeah.
But also like opportunities, that's when I realized that I had a chance to go play football and do stuff like that. That's what I'm saying. So that's why it was a great year. It affected me. It's about me. Dave Odom went 240-132, 101-87 in the ACC, and 8 NCAA tournaments from 1990 to 2001. Those were the best years for Wake Forest, but we don't care about Wake Forest, although I'll note, and this is, again, about being old, I told my son the other day, because he plays NBA 2K, And on NBA 2K, they have all of these all-time great teams. So you can be the all-time great San Antonio Spurs. You can be the all-time great Chicago Bulls, Boston Celtics. And we have wars. And, of course, he's 15 years old. So anybody that didn't play before, say, 2016, he doesn't know. And I'll be like, oh, I'm going to be the all-time San Antonio Spurs. You be the all-time Houston Rockets. And then Tim Duncan will light him up. I'm like, look at my man. The big fundamentals killing you. And he'll go, who the hell was Tim Duncan? I'm like, son.
Whoa.
That's son. Yeah. So 95 and 96, Tim Duncan led the way.
I remember his college career.
And I saw him play here.
Yeah.
I did not think at that time, I'm going to admit to making a mistake. I did not think at that time that his elite level play in the ACC would translate into a Hall of Fame NBA career. I didn't think so. He was boring. He remained boring, but incredibly effective for the entirety of his career. It's proof you don't have to be flashy, just good.
Which is kind of what the Spurs were until that little blip at the end with Kawhi.
Yeah.
They were boring, but incredibly effective.
Man. And he was something. And, just a little trip down memory lane.
There's a period of time in which the Spurs, the Nets, and the Pistons were all good, and I can't sort through those years. They're just one kind of blur of boredom.
I like
NBA.
that. The Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, Tim Duncan teams were fun. You didn't like those teams?
No.
No. Listen, I'm not saying that I, sat around in my San Antonio Spurs shirt cheering them on in the NBA Finals, but they were really good. They were fun to watch.
They're playing the Nets. I'm like, man.
Oh, well, the Nets were the problem there. The Nets can go to hell. The Nets really shouldn't exist to begin with, especially the version that was in New Jersey. Get the hell out of here, New Jersey.
Wind Beneath My Wings by Bette Midler.
One of the worst songs ever written.
Came out in 1989.
That's tragic.
I'm surprised it wasn't your graduation song.
No. Her and Barbara Hershey in that stupid movie Beaches. That's where that's from.
Not a fan of Beaches, are you?
Well, I think 30 seconds in, you're like, I hope she dies. That's how sappy and sorry the characters were. And in fact, it was about the fact that she was going to die. You're like, good. So no, it wasn't any good.
It's very mobster of you. Good. Go ahead.
Good.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, yeah. It is sad that I had instant recall of the soundtrack and what it was from. Man, there were middle-aged housewives all over the country belting that out in their car on the way to Publix.
It made the top 10 in the Billboard 100 for 1989. Number 1 that year, Chicago. Look
Hard to say
Away.
I'm sorry. Oh, Look Away.
Look Away. Mm-hmm.
That's also an awful song. Wake was a surprise team in the ACC last year. 25-10 overall, 13-7 in the ACC. All right, let's get to it. Let's just get to it. This is what we need to know, right? The long-awaited debut, 6'11" Spanish freshman forward Bob Miller, suspended unjustly 16 games by the NCAA for an infraction, allegedly. Of course, it was one that involved he and his parents repaying the money that it took to fly him in to attend a camp. One that is also paid for by people that are locals and or citizens of the United States. You're free. You do whatever you want, but if you're coming from somewhere else, no, you got to repay it. Ridiculous. Miller provides them with a highly skilled fourth scoring option and a very solid defender. He is athletic. He's a good rebounder. He is long. He can switch. And he can shoot a little, Tom. I was surprised to see how well he shot the basketball. It's a nice form. You're going to like it.
Here we go. Get the committee, that selection committee, to think about what Florida State is before the Bob Miller and the injury stuff, and then after. Let's go on a bit of a run here in the conference. Get our conference record to over 500. Give them something to think about.
Well, if you get to 6-11, because they're 5-11 now, they started 2-9 non-conference. We all know what happened. They were injury riddled. Baba was suspended. All those things happened. They really didn't have an identity to speak of. They do now. Also, Matthew Cleveland kind of figured it out. I contend again that he must not have been healthy to start the year because he doesn't even look like the same player. But the bottom line is now they have an identity. They play really hard. They play together. They're cohesive. They're infusing in this lineup, a four that can really play, that will help them defensively immensely. You get to 6-11 overall and 4-2 in the ACC. It does get a little interesting because the conference sucks. The conference isn't good. You got a lot of wins in the ACC, Tom. There's a lot of wins to be had in the ACC.
You take care of business tonight, and then you welcome Tony Bennett and the boring Virginia Cavaliers down here on a Saturday.
Let's go.
I mean, if you could score that upset, that's equity. Your credit score is out of the pooper. Here we go. Maybe, just maybe, you're on your way for the selection committee to say, it's your time. You're in. 12 seed Florida State.
They always try to put such an emphasis on, injuries, what you did over the last 10, 15 games, all that stuff, right? You could be like, hey, guys, we had dudes we had to pull out of the stands to start some of these games to start the year. Come on now. This is truly who we are. The one that finished 8 games above 500 in the conference. A robust 8 games. I don't know. I tried again last night. I'm on this crusade to try and like college basketball in a way that I once did. In 1989, I loved college basketball, Tom. Hell, in 2019, 2020, love college basketball. It's just bad.
It's because I'm not there anymore.
I was watching college basketball last night, and it just was further affirmation. And I was hoping it would be different if it was a different time. I flipped around to other games even.
Nobody cares about John Shire.
But I do like that we are in a position as we speak to perhaps have an absolute golden opportunity to achieve the Platinum Bohica. And I thought that was a lost cause. So in celebration,
you got a week and a half to gear up for it, 2 weeks even.
If you're hearing this right now and you or someone you know is active military, a veteran, police officer, firefighter, nurse, or a school teacher, turn up the volume, listen up. We're going to save you some money thanks to my friend Shannon with Legendary Home Loans. Hometown Hero Loan Program, which is designed to certainly make a difference and save you a bunch of money. If now is the time for you to buy a home, understand that you get a $1,600 right off the top, out the gate, just like that, waiving lender fees for Hometown Heroes. Save even more money if you go with their title company for the closing, saving well over $2,000. So again, if you're looking to buy a new home, choose Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Ask about their Hometown Hero program. Call 844-FSU-LOAN. That's 844-FSU-LOAN. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Every day, Sellers makes life a little better for homeowners, helping them find the best design ideas for their homes with the best quality tile, carpet, and hardwood flooring. Even mosaics, ceramic, and vinyl solutions are at their fingertips in their remarkable showroom. Maybe it's time for you to get the Sellers advantage for your home or office. Find them on Capitol Circle Northeast, just north of Mahan Drive, or online at sellerstile.com. For style, quality, and design, get the Sellers advantage. In Tallahassee, call 656-8453.
For many in the workforce, their goal is to climb the company ladder. Often the climb requires a move to another city, and that's especially true in our industry. I'm Jay of Paul's Termite and Pest Control. If you rise the ranks of our competitors, there's a good chance moving up means moving away. Why? Because they're not local companies. They're from places like Orlando, Atlanta, Salt Lake City, and even Europe. That's certainly not the case with our employees. We're a company that was founded in the Big Bend and remains locally owned. When Paul's Termite and Pest Control employees advance, they remain in the Tallahassee area. Don't trust the safety of your family and pets from disease-carrying pests or the structure of your biggest investment from termites to people who may be here today and gone tomorrow. Trust Paul's Termite and Pest Control, a company that has serviced thousands of our neighbors right here for over 50 years. Being local really does matter in our industry because local problems require local solutions. Paul's Termite and Pest Control are the Big Bend's local experts for the elimination of termites or any other pest, and a greener lawn too. Call Paul's. We'll get them all.
Hey, this is Greg Tish. Here's something you might know about me. I don't drink coffee. I have never had a cup of coffee in my life. Well, that is until now. So why change now? Well, it's because my dear friend at Grassroots Coffee reached out to me after hearing me say that and insisted that I give his product a try. I've been making a huge mistake. The world of coffee is fascinating. I always thought coffee is coffee, you know? No, it's not. I have tried their coffee and it is fantastic. Now, I've got a fascination with learning more about the best coffee in our area. Grassroots Coffee is locally roasted, locally owned, and locally loved. You can find whole bean grassroots coffee on the local aisle at Publix, also in Whole Foods. But the best way to get this black gold is to order it online. They literally grind the fresh roasted beans to your preferred level, bag it, write the date on it by hand so you know the exact day your coffee was roasted. It doesn't get any more fresh than that. Order yours now. Just go to grassrootscoffee.com and choose the coffee you want and how you want it. And join me. Let's step up our coffee game together and also support a great local business.
This is Dr. James Ryan Finn at Finn Chiropractic. In Florida, we have hurricanes, and we can predict these storms just like we can predict your health. The early warning signs of a bad health storm include neck pain, back pains, headaches. Before it turns into a catastrophic Cat 5, get in to let us get to the cause of your problem at Finn Chiropractic. Go to finnchiro.com for our online special at FENNCHIRO.com. That's Finn Chiropractic, FENNCHIRO.com, because your chiropractor loves you and there's nothing you can do about it.
The weather is unpredictable and can cause issues around your home. Weston Trawick provides commercial, residential, and industrial electrical wiring services, yearly inspections on fire alarms, portable generator sales, and so much more. With 24/7 emergency service and repair, Weston Trawick will be your calm in the storm. Give them a call at 514-0003. Weston Trawick. Professional electrical services day or night. Visit online at westontrawick.com.
We all want more energy, more strength, more results. Well, welcome to Orange Theory Fitness as you take a step towards feeling more alive today. Backed by science, Orange Theory's heart rate monitored workout is scientifically designed to keep heart rates in a target zone, spiking metabolism and increasing energy. Orange Theory Fitness is a one-of-a-kind group personal training workout resulting in more energy, visible toning, and extra calorie burn for up to 36 hours. Experience a more vibrant life today with Orange Theory Fitness. To find out more, go to orangetheoryfitness.com.
Welcome back to the Jeff Cameron Show, sponsored by Legendary Home Loans, a mortgage experience designed around speed, simplicity, and customer service. Before you buy your next home, contact our friend Shannon Young with Legendary Home Loans. Visit FSUHomeLoans.com. FSUHomeLoans.com.
Defensive back coach at Florida State. Great hire, Mike Norvell, and staff position of strength right there to be able to have him come in and replace Marcus Woodson, who was a weakness on the staff. Good job, FSU. Now you are now you're in business. Now you're cooking with gas. Let's see if they continue to reap the benefits of this 10-3 season. It seems like on a daily basis, we're talking about the many ways that has happened and why our expectations are skyrocketing by the minute. I have repeatedly mentioned that this offseason will feel interminable, but in truth, you guys have correctly pointed out that, hey, man, the spring game will be here before you know it. A lot of reason to be excited about that. A lot of reasons to document that. That is true. In the interim, we do have playoff football this weekend. Tua will not be playing for the Dolphins. Cry not, Dolphins fans. It would not have made any difference. The Dolphins were going to get the hell beat out of them regardless. So you might as well rest Tua's brain, which has been scrambled thoroughly this year. No sense in rolling him out there for that ass kicking either way. And then as we look at the Baltimore situation, Lamar Jackson out as well, huh? Grand opening, grand closing for those two franchises when the playoffs begin. And yet, here we sit after a disappointing 8-9 season, feeling like the Bucs could beat the Cowboys on Monday.
They could, but I did not realize, as I only watched the beginning of the ball game before retreating to drinking around the world at Epcot.
Nice.
Robert Hainsey got hurt on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
What the H, man? He pulled his hammy?
Yeah, it's a hamstring deal, yeah.
The whole point of getting Jensen back was that Hainsey could be your other guard, and then you have a really good interior. But, you know, if you're going to roll out starters and play them in meaningless football games, at least don't get them hurt. Jesus.
Yeah, that's a toughie. That's a toughie. Well, the line's been garbage all year long, so.
Oh, Hainsey wasn't terrible.
Are we sure Jensen's playing?
No, that's a
yeah.
problem. So if he doesn't and you don't have Hainsey, well,
Yeah.
now that
now your line's back to being as sorry as it was all year long.
Worse.
It's not possible. I mean, they are going to have a grown-up playing in the game. He is going to be a player who's worn pads before. Like, that's the baseline of what the Bucs have on that offensive line outside of Wirfs, who's a beast.
I did watch long enough to see that Gedeke had a useless holding call in open space, which made no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Not looking like a great pick, even though Jason Lights had a good track record in the draft with offensive linemen. I don't know.
We're all right at tight end, though. Those are, I like that kid.
Which one? Otten?
Yeah. Otten's a player.
He is. He grew up in the previous game because he dropped 3 easy passes.
But I'm saying, like, for a rookie, you're seeing it.
Yeah.
You're seeing it. Yeah, he's going to be fine. He's going to be fine. You know, I do wonder how high of a draft pick do you think Brock will be? I mean, you have you ever seen a tight end that special?
It's got to be top 10. It's got to be because, look.
Well, Georgia's had back-to-back tight ends that are truly special, but, I mean, this is like.
The hard part is that Kyle Pitts has not turned out. So the most recent example of a can't-miss freak has been slow on the return, to say the least, for Atlanta. It's been injury. It's been a bad situation, all of the above. But Kyle Pitts was absolutely can't miss, and his measurables, I think, were better than Bowers.
I don't know, man.
Then you look at a guy like Travis Kelce, and Tyreek Hill or no Tyreek Hill, that offense keeps on humming. And now you know that it was more reliant on 87 than it ever was on 10. Of course, Patrick Mahomes is the key piece, but you know what I mean. When Tyreek was gone, they're thinking, well, now you can just bracket Kelce because you don't have to worry about the cheetah. No, you know it's coming, and you still can't stop him, even without Tyreek Hill over the top.
Yeah, Brock Bowers, I don't know. We were debating this the other day. We were talking about where would you take him? I mean, how high can you take a tight end? What's reasonable? And 6'4", 240 runs like that can still get bigger. Freakishly athletic. Catches the ball better than Pitts. I don't know, man. Top 5?
No.
If you had, look what you just brought it up. Look what Kelce is.
Right, that's the argument.
If you think Brock Bowers is Kelce, he sure looks like him.
The argument against is the last time somebody tried this in the top 10,
that
they're
Atlanta
still waiting.
Team doesn't have a quarterback.
A great tight end can still be epic, even without a great quarterback. And I'll argue against my guy. Kelce was a freak with Alex Smith.
Kelce's a freak, period. He's one of the 5 best tight ends to ever play.
But that's what I'm saying. If you're going to be that guy, you could be that guy with or without.
Yeah, Alex Smith didn't suck, Tom. I never argued with you about that. He just wasn't the god you made him out to be.
One of the most unlucky quarterbacks in postseason history. So I'd like to say.
It still hurts you.
And somebody who did beat Drew Brees in the shootout in the playoffs.
Yeah.
He did do that. Although Drew Brees is less and less impressive as time goes on. All that time with Sean Payton. God's gift to offensive coaching. 1 Super Bowl. It's disappointing.
Had a chance to at the end of his career there at home against a team that they've had all kinds of success against and yet could not get it done. Could not get it done. Allowed the Bucs to roll on in there. Go ahead, just take that. Take it to the Super Bowl. Just take it away. A little popcorn.
One could argue that Devin White's never looked that good again. Maybe it was more about Drew Brees sucking. Who knows?
Devin is weird. He has 5 and 6 game stretches where he is dominant, 5 and 6 game stretches where he is non-existent, and 5 and 6 game stretches where he's terrible.
Yeah, where you're like, Devin, the ball's going the other way.
Man, it's weird. It is weird to watch a guy go through prolonged stretches of absolute dominance, followed by, don't even know he's there, followed by, you're killing us. You are the reason we're losing this game. You give up, you walk away, you come back. Look at this guy kicking ass again. It's weird.
The biggest apology I've had to make since Steph Curry, and not thinking that he was going to amount to much. Whoops.
Oops. Yeah.
Levante David is still good.
Still good.
I thought he was done.
You bagged
7
him
years
4
ago.
years ago. You're like, he's done.
Like
this
Jameis,
guy can't play a lick.
It's like Jameis rookie year. It's like, man, he's getting old.
You're like, we should let him go.
Yeah.
Let him go. Time's up.
Whoops.
Still kicking ass. Well, I've done something similar to varying degrees with Mike Evans. Just every time I give up on Mike Evans, it's followed by a 3-touchdown, 180-yard performance. And I'm like, well, all right then, Mike. I'll shut up. I'll stand down until the next 2 games when you don't do a damn thing and drop 2 easy first downs on 3rd and 7. Oh, time's up on Mike, Tom. You're always the other end of that text.
If you had, yes,
I'm done with this guy.
Always. It'll be the first quarter typically because that's when he drops his passes.
Well, you liked the first one the other day, didn't you? Nice catch.
Yeah.
I just did it because it's in true form.
Then he went for 2 bills.
Yeah, but you had to have laughed, right? Nice catch,
sure.
Mike, because he tried it right in the hands.
It's like, and it's dropped by Evans. And then I hear, I'm like, yeah, I know who that is. I know who that is.
Because he does it once or twice a game.
Yeah.
Catch the damn ball.
Same thing with Johnny Wilson. I'm doing the watch along with D-Rob.
But I don't say it
and
anymore.
then there's a drop. I'm like, nope. D-Rob, what'd you think of that play? I'm not picking up the phone.
I stopped halfway through the season. I stopped. My point had been made. I mean, he will drop a pass.
He will
with the best of them.
But then he'll go for 2 bills.
Well, and that's the thing. And the oddest thing with Johnny Wilson, and this is going to be a fascinating study as we bring it back to Florida State for a second. And I really do think this will be fascinating because I don't know the answer to this. There have been 2 or 3 things that have occurred on the football field with our players that I didn't think I would see or I was uncertain was possible. Yes, we know that through hard work, repetition, good coaching, film work, you can get better as a football player. You can improve your stock as a football player with the more you know and the harder you work. But certain aspects of the position you play oftentimes are something that you enter campus and the program with. So if you're a 4.3 40 guy at a high school, all right, you're walking onto that field at the very least with one weapon that very few people have, and that is elite speed, right? So we know that. And nobody at FSU is teaching you that. You walk on with that. You're not going to improve 4.3 all that much. I mean, it's pretty tough to do that, right? But Jordan Travis was downright bad at throwing the football for a while when we watched him in the pocket. To the point where you thought, I don't know if that's ever going to get better. He might be able to slow the game down, read defenses better, understand what's being asked of him play to play, lots of things that will improve his overall ability to play. But you don't go from a guy that really is inaccurate down the seam to suddenly you make all the throws, and you do so standing tall in the pocket, having gone through your progressions. Now, he's still a little bit of a see-it-throw-it guy, but, man, the growth we saw from Jordan Travis is the kind of thing that previous to seeing that was debated as to whether or not it was even possible. Because how long has the argument about hand talent been going on amongst football fans and coaches and players? This is not solely to focus on Jordan Travis. This is a debate people have all the time about quarterbacks. There are kids in college who excel because they have multiple attributes at the position. And in college, they run offenses that can accentuate, if I can speak, that skill set, right? Where you say, all right, look, let's do a ton of read options. Let's do some things to get him out of the pocket. Let's utilize the ability to get out and make people miss and run the football to set up some of the other passes that we want, right? You see it all the time. Now, the NFL offense has begun to do that, and that's why guys like Jalen Hurts have had, that kind of growth we've seen from him too, which is great. Good. Makes the NFL far more interesting. I'm glad that it's happened. But we used to say either you have hand talent or you don't. You're not suddenly going to develop it. I don't know. Jordan Travis is starting to prove that notion wrong.
He is. And again, in the bowl game, he made some anticipatory throws that belie perhaps even more improvement next year that you can.
Yeah. Yes, I agree.
Maybe bank on it is too strong, but I'm going to look for it now, especially in practice, about making throws before somebody's out of their break. He's starting to do that.
Well,
and it's spooky.
Confidence goes a long way. That's a big part of
clearly with him, and he's willing to be very open
goes a
about
long
that.
way. Yeah, and I love that, man. I root for people. I root for guys. I'm not rooting against them, but we're going to call it as we see it. We're going to bring it up. We're going to talk about your strengths and your weaknesses and everything in between. Of course we are, and that was something I didn't think we would see rise to the level that it has. And I'm not giving up on the fact that it could get even better, which is scary to think about for opposing defenses. Okay, so there's that. That's something we've seen, and I'm very surprised by. But catching at wide receiver, natural hands, soft hands. You receive the football well, or you don't. Everything looks difficult. You have all the other attributes. You run great routes. You're fluid. In the case of Johnny Wilson and other big receivers, they have a very distinct advantage in their size. Obviously, if they know how to high point a football, it gives them a distinct advantage because they're 6'7" or 6'6" or 6'5".
And Johnny's not slow for 6'7".
No, not slow for 6'7". He's also not a blazer. People try to make him out to be faster than he is, but he is fast for a guy that is 6'7". I agree with you. That said, I don't know, can he get better at catching the routine pass? I don't know the answer to that. I used to think either you do or you don't have those kinds of hands. I understand the jugs gun is sitting around catching footballs all day long and all that can improve. But that's very different than being in a game in that situation, making that play. I don't know. He catches every difficult pass there is to catch. He catches balls he has no business catching and drops a ton of passes that my children would catch.
Yeah, to me, that means that has nothing to do with hands, but with focus. That is, something is routine, and so there's not a razor-sharp entity pushing you. If it's going to be a difficult chance, and you're along the sidelines on a third and got to have it against Florida, and there's a tight window, you've got to leave your feet, and that ball is arriving right over the shoulder pad of a defender, and yet that looks as easy as anything. That tells me that you can go to a place focus-wise, summon the talent to make a really, really difficult catch look easy. So if you can do that, how can't you catch something on an easy slant on a fourth down at NC State?
Oh, I mean,
where it's right here. He's very, very similar to Mike Evans in a lot of ways.
Yes,
His get off at the line of scrimmage is not the same. Mike is elite at that. That first move that Mike has to generate separation,
unbelievable for a guy
crazy.
that size. Nobody should be able to do that, right?
Johnny's college football adequate at it, but they're very similar in that sense, where the routine seems difficult, but then when you gotta have it, I feel good about a third and gotta have it throw to Johnny Wilson down the sideline. I just feel good. If it's going to be in the range that he's going to bring it down, if it's not deflected, if it hits his hands, it's coming down. But if it's 2nd and 7 and we've got a deep hole shot and, here it is, he's wide open, I hold my breath and I say, catch it.
Yeah, the bottom line is very inconsistent, and that is the area with which, if he improves, you will see his draft stock shoot up. I mean, that I'm rooting for him. It benefits Florida State big time, benefits the young man. He doesn't lack for hard work, so he's certainly a guy that it's easy to root for, right? So, I love that guy.
I was looking down the stat line just to see, because he finished just shy of 900 yards for the season. Johnny did. And obviously 200 in the bowl game goes a long way there in terms of his total production. One of the weirdest stats I found for this year, Marqueston Douglas had 14 catches this season.
By the way, I'm a big fan of Marqueston Douglas.
For 190 yards. Malik McClain only had 3 more catches this season, and his yards per catch number was lower than Marqueston's.
I'm pretty surprised by that, but remember, there are some big plays for Marqueston, right? Where he's catching the ball wide open and then running for another 20 yards.
Yeah. One of them was, I think it was, it might have been Cam McDonald during the Shade Tree interview against Florida, but there was a wide open tight end screen because we're so good at that.
Yeah, we are.
But if you think about some of the deep shots that McClain came down with, the Florida game is a great example. The deep post. That was when we were on our run to start the second half. He only averaged 12 yards a catch. Marqueston, 13.5. I did not expect to see that as I went down the line in the receiving stats. Of course, I knew that Johnny would be up there 900 yards, but how about Marqueston?
I love watching players put in the work, get better, and you see the tangible evidence of that hard work on Saturdays and the seasons that we just saw from several players. So I am going to hold out hope that Johnny Wilson will start to make the routine catch, because at that point, there's no knock on his game. He blocks, he works hard, he has those advantages we spoke of in terms of the size. He does high point the ball well when given the opportunity. That's not one of Jordan's best throws, by the way. Any of those fades are awful. He's awful at it.
Also, he had to be your best player against Louisville on the road in the second half, and he was.
Yeah.
You know that on the sideline that I've got to elevate in order for us to get where we need to go. Tate makes the throws, and Tate deserves credit, but Johnny has to go
Yeah, he has to
dominate.
go make those plays, yeah.
And he made all of them.
What a night for Tate, though, man. Then thinking about that, like hanging in there to take that hit.
Yep.
To deliver that pass. I mean, that changed the game. That whole situation became winnable for Florida State in that moment. When you realize that there was a willingness, there was a comfort with sitting in there waiting for that to come open and to take the shot that he had to take and to deliver it as he did, you were like, oh, well, there it is. This guy has figured it out. The light bulbs come on. He trusted. Well-called game. Think about what they did to get him to calm down.
Yeah, terrible interception before the half.
Yeah, well, they gave him a couple of easy throws.
Little glance, yeah.
And he figured it out, and then all of a sudden it was, oh, I'm all right.
And then he was able to make plays.
Oh, then he made plays, right.
Like breaking contain and
the
picking up the
15-yard
first
run,
down.
Yeah. Faster than you think. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
According to the GBI, 45-year-old Stanley Forney and 38-year-old Terrence Hallman were sitting in a vehicle at a Castleberry Street address in Pelham, Georgia, before a subject approached the vehicle and shot both victims several times. Forney was pronounced dead at the scene, and Hallman was transported to the hospital before succumbing to his injuries. The investigation is currently active and ongoing. A week into a second term, Governor Ron DeSantis signed an executive order Tuesday reaffirming and building on a commitment to clean water he had signed exactly 4 years earlier. Like in 2019, the order addresses issues that have plagued the state, such as red tide and blue-green algae blooms, as well as the years-long effort to restore the Everglades. It orders the Department of Environmental Protection and regional water management districts to make those issues a priority and pledges $3.5 billion for water projects over the next 4 years. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 Local News Update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Mainly sunny skies and calm this afternoon with a high of 73. South winds 8 to 15 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 58 tonight. Partly cloudy skies. A mix of clouds and sun tomorrow. Chance for isolated storms. High of 76. Upper 50s Friday with a chance for scattered storms. Mid 50s Saturday. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, 76.
See Nice Tire and Auto Service at 4792 Bluntstown Highway today. The ASC trained technicians at Nice take the guesswork out of fixing your car. That's why wherever you see the Goodyear sign, you'll find what you want in tires and service. From preventative maintenance to a major overhaul and everything in between, you name it. Plus, Nice's services are backed by a nationwide limited warranty. Stop by Nice Tire and Auto Service. 4792 Bluntstown Highway, just west of Capitol Circle.
Jeff, look at this beautiful day, man.
Yeah, it's getting a little chilly. I like it. You know, I'm a colder weather guy, but I worry about it for you because you can't wear the Speedo in the cold. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You don't want to wear a Speedo in the cold.
Jeff, it's always Speedo weather, man. We can always do this. Besides, my pool, it's heated.
Which means you're insufferable in a Speedo year-round?
Cannonball!
Still gross.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
Hey, Greg Tish here along with
Matty Rowe.
And you can listen to us Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3. Matt, we give away a couple things each week.
Just a few.
We've got the Florida Farm Bureau Insurance Wheel of Food. We have Give Me a Second, where we play a second of a song and you guess that song. And we also play FLA or Nay. We have a lot of fun Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on
The Greg Tish Show.
Think it's enough?
We could talk about our feelings.
There's a lot.
The Greg Tish Show, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., only on Real Talk 93.3. The Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness. 2 Tallahassee locations, Midtown on Thomasville Road and Northside in the Village Common Shopping Center. Online at orangetheoryfitness.com.
Grab a little tub talk, buddy. Let's hear those bulls. Let's hear.
It's time for Tub Talk, brought to you by Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas. Buy yourself the hot tub you've always wanted at the price you've always wanted from Pinch a Penny on Greer Street. Now, it's live to the top.
So nice to know that installation is completed on certain models. Pinch Penny Pools and Spas, locally owned, located on Greer Street off Capitol Circle. Don't call, just show on up. Take a good look at those tubs. All these. Tom and I played golf yesterday. It was an enjoyable evening on the golf course. And in the course of our playing golf, we asked the question after watching Georgia do what they did, how far away is Florida State from that? Now, keep in mind, I also noted on Seminole Headlines, Tom, that to get to that point, to play a team like that, you don't have to be capable of beating Georgia. See TCU, obviously. They got to the national championship game without ever facing anybody that resembles Georgia. And then when they saw Georgia, that they did not like what they saw. They melted pretty quickly. That was a feeble effort from TCU. I think the early portion of that game showed them rather resoundingly, yeah, you're not good enough, big enough, strong enough, fast enough, and this is over. It happened quick.
Most confusing thing I saw in the first quarter was Georgia dropping back, throwing passes and running end arounds and trick plays when all they needed to do was go straight ahead. But as it turned out, it didn't really matter. Wouldn't cost them, because the margin of error was 58.
The oddity is Georgia really, sometimes when you have the opportunity to run anything you want, it's paralysis by analysis, right? You're like, well, what should we do? We can do anything. Hurry up, call something. We got to do something, but we can do anything. Run a flea flicker. Okay. There are no ramifications for this, and it will work out. It's going to be all right. We can do anything we want to do. But what I would say is that I suppose Florida State is somewhere between wherever TCU was and who would you say? I mean, Ohio State? I mean, do you think I think Florida State, given the way that TCU played in that game. Now, I don't discount their season. I've lauded them for their season, but I think Florida State would have beat TCU on that night.
Yeah, I think so. It's just that our offense is too multifaceted to go into a 7-point slumber, period, against anybody, Georgia included.
The second half of the season, that is certainly true, the way that they emerged.
And especially now projecting forward what they have at tight end and H-back.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm not saying we're equal to Ohio State. I mean, Ohio State's got first-round draft picks at wide receiver. They've got another all-world quarterback, although we have a very good quarterback right now, too. I'm trying to figure out where we would slot and what does that mean for the larger conversation about how close you are to winning a championship. If winning a championship means you have to beat a team the caliber of Georgia and their athletes. If you're comparing what they are and what we are, how far away are we? Well, those are different conversations because looking at that Georgia team, obviously nobody really, they went undefeated. They won the national championship and went undefeated.
That Georgia team wasn't that Georgia team until the other night, too.
But that Georgia team is like a lot of teams that are capable of that. They take weekends off because the film doesn't lie to them. It's hard to be locked in, focused, motivated every week. I know most people hear that and think, well, why? How? You only get so many games in a season. Why wouldn't you be locked in? When you're watching film and you're seeing that the guy across from you is of no threat, it is human nature. Like when you play 21 against somebody who is younger than you or smaller than you in basketball, you don't go balls to the wall to beat them 21-0. You just kind of do whatever you got to do to get the win.
Well, then you don't have what it takes.
I mean, this is what happens. Like, you don't do it, right?
Michael Jordan would have.
There are people who are, over the top focused.
He would have kicked that tub water in your face
24 hours a day. But most of us aren't. And so I think when you see that, you're like, okay, well, look, we're going to have to get up and play well when we play for Georgia. You would say, Florida, Tennessee. You would say Alabama if you play them in the SEC championship game or whomever you play in the SEC championship game. Yeah, you're going to have 4 or 5 games. They were obviously focused for that first game of the year against Oregon. Just stomped Oregon in a way that nobody else did. And when they had to show up, they unveiled they could be that. And that version against that TCU team was overwhelming. But I do wonder, I said that if Florida State played Georgia tomorrow on a neutral field and something was at stake and both teams were as focused as they could be, what does that score look like to you? I don't know, 40-21, 41-24. I feel like Georgia would win comfortably. Don't you?
Yeah, probably so. They would be favored, and rightly so. They've got more talent across the board, more depth too. That's the other thing, is the depth. And as the playoff expands, that's what this is going to become a discussion about, is do you have the depth to handle the attrition that comes with this length of a season? And Florida State does not yet. But the upper end of what we do on offense, you can't just stop us by doing one thing well. Florida found that out. Oklahoma found that out. Brent had an excellent game plan with a bad defense, which was to throw the numbers at the problem at the run.
Yeah.
Take away the edges so we can't run counter, so we can't run outside zone. Also protecting against as much as possible Jordan Travis breaking the pocket. Excellent game plan. He threw for 400 yards against him.
Mm-hmm.
Could have thrown for 500 without a Johnny drop. Would have been 5 bills.
More than one.
And there was like 4 total drops in that game.
Yeah.
So what is it? I get that the Oklahoma defense this year is nothing close to Georgia's. But my point is, if you've got to try to focus on us in one way, we've got an answer any way you want to play it.
Yeah, no, I think
so that
we'd
makes
score.
us more dangerous than even the TCU team that they played.
Without question. And that's why I gave us 24 in this example.
Right.
I think we would score, but I don't think we would stop them from scoring at all. I don't think physically we would be capable of stopping them from scoring. I think their offensive line is insane. I think when they're focused and care, who the hell on our team is covering Brock? Nobody did, and nobody would on this team. So I mean,
we couldn't cover the kid from Oklahoma.
No, we're not. So there's a ways to go to get
Pearsall as well.
The one receiver they had, but that's the area that you would circle in that matchup and say, well, this is going to be a long.
But here's
evening.
the thing: I would also say, because of how good this offense is, you've got a chance in every ball game. TCU had no chance in that game. Clearly, they had no chance.
Well, right.
We would have a chance in every ball game against every opponent we play next year, because of the multifaceted, lethal nature of what this offense is, especially now. The thing that spring and fall camp are about is finding out how good can this offensive line be. Can it get to a place where on 3rd and 1, you're going to win a fair number of those, even though the world knows you want to run the ball? Because if that's the case, then time for everybody else.
Correct. 3 areas that I would say Florida State has a lot of growing to do and an opportunity to maybe prove that they have taken yet another big step towards being much better than they are currently. We'll see it in the spring with the competition and then on into the fall. And they're going to have to do that where we start to proclaim national championship possibilities, And that is the offensive line, which has been a lot better, but it is not a dominant group by any means because they can't get the short yardage situations that you're talking about, not consistently. I mean, how many times have we watched that happen this year? And it's very, very frustrating. Whereas you watch an offensive line like Georgia's and you see that they manhandle people often.
But you could do the 2 things at once, Steele.
Right.
They've come a long way.
Oh, they've come a long way. And maybe they'll be a lot better next year because, again, they've brought in pieces.
And we were judging them against the curve of what? An 8-4 season, which is a hopeful top 20 team.
Yes.
Well, they exceeded those expectations even with injuries. So kudos.
Yeah. And so I think you look at that and then you think, okay, well, that's got to get a lot better. I think they have to get a lot better at linebacker. The depth of talent isn't there at linebacker compared to Georgia, compared to Oklahoma. When we were watching those linebackers, there are several teams this year whose linebackers made me envious, where I went, all right, we've gotten better there, but we're nothing to write home about. So that has got, maybe we'll have that. Maybe you're starting to see us grow into that, but not quite yet.
Well, whether it is like a chessboard or you're looking at Risk, right? You like to play Risk back in the day, the board game. When you're building up your empire, these are the conversations I think that are more pertinent to subsequent years, not 2023. Because when you want to be a repeat offender and a repeat attender to the playoffs, the semifinals, whatever it's going to be.
Nicely done.
You have to have the depth of talent across the board. Next year, I think you just got to part and parcel this thing defensively to get to a place where 30 points a game is going to be enough. If you can get there, We're going to exceed 30 points a lot next year.
The only problem with that, and yes, I agree with you. The only problem with it is, and we've talked about this a lot over the years, and we know that the game is built around offenses now. We know the rules are in favor of offenses. So what it means to be good on defense has shifted. The goalposts have moved. If you're a defense that holds good offenses to 24 or fewer, then you're a good defense. I mean, the days of people shutting folks out, like going back to 93 and watching Florida State just shut people out and go into games asking with a straight face, can they score against Florida State? I'm not so sure they can score. You don't do that anymore because the rules allow for offenses to have success. And then if you add into the fact that you're going to face a couple of good ones and the offense and the rules are in favor of them, then you're going to give up points. I have often said over the years that if you can't defend, you can lose to anybody. And that's because defense travels. Defense travels. Offense doesn't always travel. You have a day in which you're dealing with inclement weather, gusts of wind, terrible rain, whatever it might be. That offense isn't always going to be productive in that situation. There's a lot of timing that goes into offense. Guys have off days, and all of a sudden you're screwed. Whereas defense travels, and you can dominate week to week to week, regardless of weather or location. And so if you can get to a place where you can consistently play good defense, not saying it's always going to work out in your favor. Again, the rules are in favor of offenses. Then I like your chances better to win a national championship as opposed to solely basing it on, I think we can outscore everybody.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I don't think this defense is punchless now with what they got coming back next year. They just need a little bit better injury luck up front. That really hurt things. And they got more depth, I think, in the interior next year as well.
Yeah.
With the transfers they got.
Golly. Another show and another reason to be pumped up. Good job out of you. Good job, Director Matthew. Be well, everybody. Peace. We'll talk to you tomorrow.